The Moreau Center for Service and Leadership envisions that University of Portland graduates would be spiritually aware, servant scholars, and global citizens committed to leading for the common good. Cross-divisional and interdisciplinary partnerships are vital as we work to make this vision a reality and serve the mission of the university. The Moreau Center offers 8 annual or biannual alternative break service learning trips. Over fall break, students spend time in Yakima, Washington for the Rural Plunge, learning about issues related to agriculture, migrant workers, and tribal community concerns. Others stay right here in Portland for the Food Justice Plunge to learn about healthy and sustainable food systems, food security, urban garden projects, and Oregon's startling problem with hunger. Just before spring semester, about 30 students spend 5 days living in Old Town, exploring issues of urban poverty, hunger, homelessness, mental illness, and addiction, and strategies for alleviation. 2 programs are offered annually over spring break: the Border Plunge and Collegiate Challenge. Participants in the Border Plunge partner with an organization called Border Links to spend 1 week in Nogales, Arizona, talking with Border Patrol, Minutemen, detainees, and migrant families. They clean up litter and fill water stations in desert areas frequented by border crossers. Most participants indicate that observing Operation Streamline is one of their most impacting experiences. The Collegiate Challenge is an annual Habitat for Humanity program. While students work on building a house, they also meet low-income families and discuss issues like access to affordable housing and the impact of home ownership. Every other year during spring break, students also have the opportunity to travel to Juneau and Sitka, Alaska, in order to explore the history and contemporary struggles of Alaskan tribal communities. Students volunteer in a soup kitchen, as well as in a local alternative high school, public high school, and native boarding school. They explore issues of healthcare, education, ecology, and tribal culture. Each May, students have the opportunity to travel for 3 weeks to Nicaragua with partner organizations Witness for Peace and Seeds of Learning. The program is designed so students are exposed to political, economic, and cultural contexts of contemporary social issues. Students visit a coffee cooperative and spend a week volunteering in a rural community, building a school alongside community members. Every other May, students travel throughout the Southeast United States tracing civil rights history, culminating in a Habitat for Humanity build on the Gulf Coast, where they explore the implications of racial inequity and the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and, more recently, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Finally, students also have the opportunity to serve as interns with the Foundation for Sustainable Development in Kakamega, Kenya. This 9-week intensive program allows interns to work for a Kenyan organization working to empower the most vulnerable members of their community. Students shadow staff for the first 2 weeks and then collaboratively propose a project for the rest of their internship. The program includes an opportunity to apply for grant support for their proposed project. In addition to these regular programs, Residence Hall-based student leaders called Service and Justice Coordinators organize at least 9 small-scale service learning trips each year. Through Link Up grants, the Moreau Center also offers an opportunity for faculty, staff, or students to apply for funding and logistical support for service learning trips of their own design. Embedded in each program are 8 core commitments: direct service, social justice, community, solidarity, sustainability, social analysis, personal reflection, and spiritual exploration. Some faculty have worked to integrate Moreau Center programs into existing courses.
And I've taught 2 courses connected to the civil rights immersion. First was Protest and Reform in American History, and the second one was African American History. I have 2 different experiences of structuring those courses, and in the first case we allowed students who were going on the civil rights immersion to audit the course. In addition to, they could choose to take the course for the regular 3 credits because it was a regular 3-credit upper level history course. In the second course, we tried something different, which was both to offer students to take the course as a regular 3-credit upper division history course, or they could choose to take a 1-credit history course in service learning, and that was running simultaneously with the 3-credit course. In the first case, when students audited the course, they didn't necessarily feel accountable, I think, to the course and how that was going to fit in with their service experience, which basically translated into not being as prepared for class discussion as I would have liked. In the second case, I feel like that was taken care of by allowing for students to choose to take a 1-credit version of the course. I think offering the 1-credit version of the course at the same time that the 3-credit course was offered helped students to feel more accountable, both to the readings, to the class participation, and to integrating the academic component of the class into their immersion experience. Working with the Moreau Center has been very helpful in integrating service learning into my history class. In fact, I don't think I could have integrated service learning into this particular history class, African American history, if I hadn't partnered with the Moreau Center. Because I'm at a point in my life where, with small children, I'm not able to accompany students on a 3-week trip through the South. So to have the support of the Moreau Center in actually doing that piece of the service learning was invaluable for me. And I think that we're working out the kinks, and that we've been working quite well together to figure out how to team up the academic component with the service component and work really well together. I would suggest really spending some time making that 1-credit course, providing as much depth within that 1-credit course as possible. It's hard when you're teaching a 3-credit course and you know how much is unfolding when the 1-credit students aren't there. So one of the biggest challenges is trying to make sure that the 1-credit students are actually having access or gaining access to the most important pieces of the academic learning. It's very helpful to have strong student leaders. The second time around, I had very strong student leaders that really fostered class discussion and class learning, and I think that made a real difference. So helping perhaps the Moreau Center to identify strong student leaders, making sure that those, and even partnering with those student leaders. One of the things that was very successful the second time around was meeting with the 2 student leaders on a regular basis throughout the semester to talk with them about what they were learning in the class, to sort of evaluate the class and evaluate their expectations and hopes for how this was all going to be integrated into their immersion experience. So I felt like that was really
My name is Marcela Cinta. I work for the Spanish department and in the Office of International Languages and Cultures. During the fall, I teach Spanish 380, which is called Latino Healthcare and Social Issues. The main component of the course is community-based, and they can choose among several options. One of them is we spend the whole day in Hood River and Parkdale. They visit health clinic, well, we visit because I go with them, called La Clínica del Cariño, which gives dental and medical care for people who have no medical insurance. And because of all the farm workers in the area, they're mainly Latino, though it's open to everyone. And then we go to Parkdale to visit a pear farm. And we decide to go there on Harvest Day, and the students interview the farmers in Spanish, obviously, and we help them pick up the pears, because that day they don't get paid by the hour, they get paid by the bin. So if they spend a lot of time talking to the students, they earn less money, so we help them do that. So it's a very nice way of combining helping them in their work and interviewing them at the same time. And we mainly work for Josiah Hill Clinic, who does blood testing for lead in children and pregnant women. And especially last year, there was a new person in Josiah Hill Clinic who didn't speak any Spanish. So she was delighted that 2 or 3 of our students were there the whole day to help the patients fill in their forms and explain to them what that blood testing was. Another project they can choose is to go with Moreau Center to the rural plunge in Yakima. And they love it. They all do oral presentations about their experience and then write an essay based also on research in the library and on their own experience with the interviews or the volunteer work. Probably the main challenge is that when they go out to volunteer in different clinics or social organizations, I have no control of what they're learning or saying. But I think that's also good because that's the way it will be for the rest of their lives. They're going to be out there on their own without a teacher supervising them. Morrow Center has helped a lot. I think Morrow Center is a link into that outside world and the community where everyone can go to and apply what they teach in their courses to the local community.
I'm Courtney Fletcher, and I'm an assistant professor in the Communication Studies Department. I teach CST 492, which is titled International Development, Service, and Leadership, which is open to all students that are interested in that type of work. Specifically, this semester I've had enrolled both a group of students going to Nicaragua and a group of students going to East Africa. My goals in developing the course for international development were really twofold. One, I think we were looking to have a course that students that wanted to do this type of work out in the developing world could have a way to sort of prepare for that experience, right? So talking about issues of cross-cultural awareness, talking about issues of just developing and some of the challenges you face on the ground. So providing a space to have those conversations before going out into the field. And the other part, the second part of the goal of the class was really to give students a space to learn, I think, and ground it in academic research, what's happening out in these parts of the world that they're about to engage. They really came wanting to learn before going out to practice. Right? They wanted to understand about some of these things so that they could preemptively do themselves the favor and do the citizens on the ground in their countries that they're traveling to the favor of having a better sense of what was going on. I think interdisciplinary, inter-age, inter-group mixing is one of the essential components of this class. I love the idea that we have 17 or 18 students that are coming at it from an engineering perspective and a biology perspective and a Spanish major perspective, philosophy, theology, music, drama. And everyone has just a very different lived experience and therefore will experience the rest of the world somewhat differently too. And this is the type of course, I think, that allows students to make the most of this experience from a service and a learning perspective. I think that this is really the future of this type of learning and this type of education, is not just being in a bubble and staying in a classroom, but really saying, okay, if I'm going to go out and travel to the far corners of the world and engage a culture there, hey, I have to do some preparatory work for that. I have to read, I have to learn prior to going out there. The greatest challenge in teaching the course was really the variety of experiences that the students began with. So I was dealing with freshmen to seniors, right, from all different majors and all different orientations to this type of travel and this type of service learning project. And so really trying to help each person get a little bit further and a little bit deeper. But this wasn't like it was a bunch of one major that were all going to take a 400 level class and they were all seniors. You know, there were freshmen that have literally never been outside of the United States and rarely have traveled within the United States, to seniors that speak 2 or 3 foreign languages fluently and, you know, have a much greater sense of what to expect. And so trying to get everybody to learn something and move in different directions. And I think it was really good for the students in the class to also hear about each other's experiences and expectations and worries and fears and resolve some of those. I would definitely recommend that other faculty members strive to organize these types of courses, right, that both exist in the classroom and outside of the classroom. In this case, obviously, abroad in a developing nation. And I think that that's the future, right? I think that the University of Portland understands that and is, I think, wanting to move forward with that idea. But I definitely think that the students here have demonstrated through their commitment to things like the Peace Corps and some of the Jesuit Service Corps, that they want those types of experiences and they long for them. And I think they don't want to necessarily wait till they graduate to get a taste for them. There's a lot of opportunity out there, right? There's a lot of ways of looking at a space and a place. And I certainly think that we have the ingenuity and the faculty and the talent to creatively make use of the opportunities that exist out there. And I think our students are only going to benefit.
They're the ones who came up with the project. They asked if they could get credit for it, political science credit, and I said, fine. We'll work out a program, and I did this with a chair. Gary Maleka has been pretty carefully supervising all of the student projects that take place and internships and various things. So we have a track record in the department for setting up frameworks for students who do this. I received from both of them, from both Taylor and Elle, very detailed and very personal but very perceptive evaluation of their successes and failures and frustrations. So after they finished and returned, they put together their reflections and submitted paper evaluation for which they got credit because they had books to read, they had documents to look at, and they had a series of documents that they received from their supportive organization as well. There's not a whole lot we can do as an outsider, as a U.S. citizen that goes to Africa, for example, a country, well, a region and countries that are extremely complex, very sophisticated. To give an example, the role of women, I think both of them discovered that their understanding of the weakness of women in the third world, discrimination, marginalization, etc., has to be rethought. Now, the experience they get personally is probably going to be stronger than anything they can give. That's a hard call. And I don't like to do this sort of thing, but it brings a bit of humility into your project that you're probably going to get more out of this than they are. This experience of discovering, first of all, how limited you are, at the same time, how to evaluate and appreciate what you're getting from the experience is every bit worth the few credits that we give for that. If they work for any international organization, from church organizations like Caritas or the World Lutheran Organization or any of those, these organizations look for students who have had experiential learning in various projects. The only thing I can say is I think that's the direction that education is taking, certainly on the graduate level. And to the extent that we do that here on the undergraduate level, I think we prepare students much better for graduate studies or for going with an international organization that will then support you as you get higher degrees, get master's degrees, or even go on for a PhD if you're so disposed or so interested. We tell our students, you can change the world. You can make a difference. Individuals make a difference. And if you don't give them some experience of how they can make a little difference, however limited and small it may be, or how this changes them, when you get into more specialized graduate studies, etc., you might find it difficult to find the time or the right motivation to do this. Yeah, I think it's essential on the undergraduate level. As a matter of fact, I think that's the best way to prepare people for graduate studies.
In his work, Christian Education, the Blessed Basil Moreau, founder of the Congregation of Holy Cross, posed that to be true to our calling as complete Holy Cross educators, we cannot excuse ourselves from matters of the heart. The heart does not know the Pythagorean theorem, the parts of speech or plant phyla. The heart knows love and its loss, craves compassion, and responds to hospitality. The heart struggles with ambiguity, weighs choices, and considers consequences. The heart, given space, learns to rise once it finds courage and hope. In the stillness of listening, it is the heart that hears the gentle breeze. To what end would it serve students to know how to read, write, calculate, and draw, or to possess some notions of history, geography, geometry, physics, and chemistry, if they are ignorant of their duties to God, to themselves, and to society, or if, while knowing them, they did not conform their conduct to that knowledge.